Winx Club has had quite an interesting history when it comes to English dubs. It has been dubbed by 5, technically 6, but DeviantArt and 3 share the same cast, different companies, none of which have ever dubbed the entire series, which is ridiculous. The history of Winx Club is so much more complicated, and I highly recommend checking out Unicorn Wars videos on the history of Winx Club, and their videos where they recast the voices for the show. And as you can tell, I got this idea from them, and I have no shame in it. However, I wanted to share my personal fancast with the voice actors of Winx Club that I would choose to have dubbed the entire series from beginning to end. I figured if I want to be a more prominent YouTuber, I need to regularly put out content. This is a smaller editing project, so I don't have to be as busy with it like I will with my video about what I want to see in the live-action remake of The Swan Princess. I'm both excited and anxious to work on that video. Anyway, this video will only be covering my choices for the characters in Season 1, so that means that Layla/Aisha will not be featured in this video, but will when I do my recast for Season 2. I also want to make clear that with the characters of color, I am gonna cast voice actors that match their races, or at the very least are biracial. Also, I'm not just limiting myself to actors who have already voiced these characters. They can be brand new voices and returning voice actors. And so, without any further delay, here we go. First up, we have the protagonist herself, Bloom. I personally wish that I could cast her 4Kids voice, Liza Jacqueline. She is by far and away the best voice Bloom has ever had. She perfectly captures Bloom's cinnamon roll nature, gives her emotional depth, and shows what a spunky and fiery character she is.
What is with you? Hey, I think I know who I like, and trust me, I don't go for the whole jerk thing. You're a totally conceited, totally cocky, totally boring waste of good oxygen.
Unfortunately, Liza is currently retired from voice acting. She now works in publishing books and as a full-time mom, so she doesn't voice act anymore because of that, even though she hopes to be able to return to voice acting again someday when she's not so busy. If she was willing to voice Bloom again, since she has spoken very highly about her experience voicing Bloom, she would definitely be my first choice. However, there is one actress that I think could actually be on the same level as Liza and maybe even do better. That actress is Mae Whitman. She is well known for voicing Tinkerbell and Tinkerbell movies, Rose from American Dragon Jake Long, Amity Blight from The Owl House, and especially Katara from Avatar The Last Airbender. Her cadence is actually very close to Liza, and she has played characters that are cinnamon rolls with hot-headed tempers that are full of spunk. Not to mention that she would really be able to pull off the emotional scenes flawlessly.
I wanted to do it. I wanted to take out all my anger at him, but I couldn't. I don't know if it's because I'm too weak to do it, or if it's because I'm strong enough not to.
However, I would have to cast someone else to do Bloom's singing voice when the girls form a band in Season 4. I mean, Mae Whitman has a lovely voice, but it isn't really strong enough to handle the vocal demands of the songs that Bloom sings.
Smoke make me lose my memories. Drink make my body fail.
Which is why I cast Nina Herzog to do the singing voice for Bloom. Her voice is gorgeous, and it really sounds similar to Mae Whitman's speaking voice.
For longer than forever, I'll hold you in my heart. It's almost like you're here with me, although we're far apart.
So, Mae Whitman for Bloom's speaking voice, and Nina Herzog for her singing voice. Next up, we have the Fairy of the Sun and Moon. I would have gone with her 4Kids voice, but she is retired from voice acting. So I decided to go with Caitlin Glass, who is best known for voicing Winry from Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood. She's really amazing at playing very energetic and quirky characters, but still showing them as having a level of intelligence.
Hellions, blah blah, something something powerful. I'm listening.
Not to mention, she also has a beautiful singing voice, which will come in handy because of how she sings a duet with Musa in Season 2.
When's it my turn? When I love to explore that shore above.
As for Flora, I wanted someone who could portray her sweet and gentle side and how she is the teen mom. Her 4Kids voice managed to show all of that, and her light voice made when she was angry all the more powerful.
Are you sure you want to come? Because you can always stay here. That was my sister! sister!
So I really wanted someone who could sound similar, but also be a Latina or Hispanic woman. I ended up going with Diane Guerrero, who you will recognize for her performance as Isabela Madrigal from Encanto. Granted, she wouldn't be mean like Isabela. She has a very light and sweet sounding tone to her voice that is perfect for the character, and makes those moments where Flora would go all mama bear on someone who would hurt someone she loves all the more powerful, since we saw her angry a lot in Encanto.
We turn ourselves in, ask for forgiveness, tell her we've changed. If Elena forgives us, maybe King Virago will too.
From Musa, just like with Flora, I wanted to cast someone who would match her race, which is that of an Asian woman. Musa is a character that should have a voice that matches her streetwise and snarky personality. Her 4Kids voice, Lisa Ortiz, captured that perfectly, but she's not Asian, so that kept her from being considered. Her Nick voice, Romy Dames, did a really great job, but didn't really go far enough with the street smart sound to her voice. Not to mention, I also wanted her to have a beautiful singing voice because that is a very important aspect to her character as the fairy of music. So I went with Kimiko Glenn, who many of you will know from a Netflix show called Orange is the New Black, but those of us who are animation fans will recognize her as Lena Dispel from the 2017 reboot of DuckTales. She is absolutely perfect for the role of Musa, and could even surpass Lisa Ortiz. Her performance as Lena is like a perfectly blended combination of Lisa and Romy's performances as Musa.
Wow, you guys are so extreme. What are you gonna do? Ollie all the way over here?
Not to mention that she has an absolutely amazing singing voice and has a lot of experience on Broadway and can sing other genres of music. So yeah, she's perfect.
What if when he sees me, I like him and he knows it? What if he opens up a door and I can't close it? What happens then? Someone who when he sees me wants to again.
As for Tekna, considering I grew up with a 4Kids dub, I've always thought that she should have a British accent. It's not just because she's smart, but also because it helps her stand out from the other girls and how she's always been so different from the others due to her coming from a planet that cares more about logic than emotions. However, I couldn't use her original 4Kids voice because she's retired, and while I did love Rebecca Solar's performance in the 3rd season of the 4Kids dub, her voice didn't have the same militant maturity her first 4Kids voice had. I ultimately decided to go with Kimberly Brooks, who actually did voice Stormy in the Nick dub. Her Princess Allura voice from Voltron Legendary Defender would be absolutely perfect for Tekna. She'd have a maturity and logical quality, but also be able to sound young enough so she doesn't sound too old, as well as be able to capture Tekna's emotional moments flawlessly.
I must portray strength, so no one can tell how concerned I am about the fate of our mission.
British Tekna is best Tekna, and I will fight that to my very grave. Next up we have the Trix, starring with their powerhouse of a leader, Icy. This choice was the easiest one to make because I'm going with her 4Kids voice, Lisa Ortiz. She just really nails the character better than any other actress has ever had the role, and no one they could hire would ever be able to match her performance, not even close. She's universally considered the best Icy, even by people who hate the 4Kids dub. Unlike other actresses that have voiced Icy, she doesn't come off as just some high school mean girl. She comes off as someone who actually wants to rule the universe. She would be able to bring back some level of dignity to Icy that she lost after the original 3 seasons. Not to mention that Lisa's performance is very ranged, perfectly capturing her cool, composed, snarky, and sinister nature.
Try to freeze my heart. Don't they know my heart's already so cold nothing can freeze it? Idiots.
But also is able to flawlessly capture the character when she flies off the handle into a murderous rage.
You're gonna wish you never survived the destruction of Sparks.
Not to mention, considering we do get a backstory for Icy in Season 8, I would love to see what kind of emotional depth she would bring to the character, which you know she would absolutely slay. So yeah, there is only one Icy, and that is Lisa Ortiz. Next up we have Darcy, and I really have to agree with Unicorn Awards choice, Laura Bailey. That casting choice is absolutely flawless, and would be on the same level as Lisa Ortiz as Icy. Laura is a voice acting legend and is best known for being the voice of Lust from Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood. Deeper voices suit Darcy, and Laura would be able to flawlessly capture her seductive, deceptive, and mellow attitude.
Look at them all. Humans are foolish beyond salvation.
As for Stormy, I was tempted to go with her 4Kids voice, Susie Myers. However, I thought of an actress that would do an even better job as this hot-headed, immature, prone to violence character. That actress would be Nicole Sullivan, who is best known for being the voice of Shigo from Kim Possible. She is absolutely perfect for the role of Stormy. She has played characters that have really bad tempers and are prone to violence, but also have a lot of sass and snark. She'd be able to capture her sinister side just as well as her aggressive side.
Alright, I'm game. Let's play!
Next up, we have the Specialist. For Sky, it was the easiest one out of the 4 boys because I'm going with his 4Kids voice, Dan Green. You'll also recognize him for his performance as both Yugimoto and the Pharaoh in Yu-Gi-Oh! I just can't imagine anyone else's Sky because he really manages to help Sky stand out from the other specialists and from all the other actors who have ever voiced him. He has a higher tone to his voice, which is not very common for heroes or love interests, so it keeps him from being so generic. He manages to capture his leadership and actually give some charm and likability to a very generic and flawed character.
Isn't that the Black Mud Swamp down there? Are we sure we're going the right way?
For Brandon, I have to say that out of all 4 of the original specialists, he was without a doubt the hardest one to cast for. As I said, I do want the race of the voice actor to match the character, but I'm not entirely sure what Brandon's race is, and no one seems to be sure. His race has always been very much up for debate among the fandom. Is he Hispanic or Latino? Is he Southeast Asian? Is he Middle Eastern? Is he just a white boy with a tan? No one knows. So for him, I ended up deciding that any voice actor of color will do. With that out of the way, I wanted someone who could manage to capture Brandon's dashing, heroic charm, but also his fun-loving jokester nature. It was hard, but I ultimately decided to go with Keith Ferguson, who is best known for playing comedic characters like Blue from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. However, he is actually quite a versatile actor and has played young hero characters before, so he'd have that daring, heroic charisma, but also would be able to capture his class clown personality.
Yeah, it's only cool to mope for 1, maybe 3 movies. Then you gotta get back out there and have fun.
Originally, I was going to have Ribbon keep his 4Kids voice until my girlfriend actually suggested to me an absolutely flawless choice, Will Friedle. He is mostly known for comedic roles like Eric Matthews from Boy Meets World and being the voice of Ron Stoppable from Kim Possible. However, the performance he gave as the voice of Terry McGillis from Batman Beyond is what truly sold me on him as the voice of Ribbon, particularly the voice he uses when he's suited up as Batman, because his raspy voice truly captures this hot-headed, broody jerk that deep down has a good heart.
I fixed your pets, Doc. Now it's just you and me. So why not come on out and fight me man to freak show?
For Timmy, I went with voice acting legend Jason Marsden. He has voiced a lot of very nerdy characters, particularly his performance as Richie Foley / Gear from Static Shock. He would perfectly capture his nerdy charm, his awkwardness, but also show his heroic side.
He's a scouting robot. I can control him with this. I can see whatever he sees, and I can broadcast my voice through him.
Next up, we have the staff of the 3 magic schools, starting with Alfea. For Farragonda, I went with Toks Olonongoye, who you will recognize as the voice of Mrs. Beakley from the 2017 reboot of DuckTales. She would perfectly capture the firm and mature side of the character, but also capture her more fun and charming side.
What I mean is, I know a girl just like you. She changed everything. I had brought Fowl to its knees. The director had gone underground, but I found his secret lair. I would have ripped the place apart. I almost had him.
As for the Queen of Detention herself, Griselda, there was only one choice I could think of, and that was Mindy Sterling. She is well known for playing stern, buzzkill characters like Miss Briggs from iCarly and Principal Skidmore from that terrible show Ant Farm. She also has voice acting experience with characters such as Miss Endive from Chowder, and especially Lin Bei Fong from The Legend of Korra. Honestly, who could possibly be more perfect for Griselda?
Oh, I am well aware of who you are, and your avatar title might impress some people, but not me.
As for the rest of the Alfea staff, I'll be quick because all of them are going to be keeping their 4Kids voices. They perfectly capture their personalities and help them stand out. So yeah, their 4Kids voices fit them like a glove. Now we move on to the Red Fountain staff. For Saladin, again, representation matters, so I wanted an Asian voice actor for him. I ultimately decided to go with Daniel Dae Kim. This was suggested by my girlfriend. For those of you who don't know, he was the voice of Asami Soto's father, Hiroshi Sato, in The Legend of Korra, and the voice of Raya's father, Chief Benja, in Raya and the Last Dragon. I feel he would be able to capture Saladin's wisdom and his courageous personality flawlessly.
For far too long we have been enemies, but today is a new day. Today, we can be Kumandra once more.
As for Coda Torta, I'd have to go with Travis Willingham, who many of you will know as the voice of Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist and Brotherhood. I mean, really, just listen how perfect this is.
I seared the wound closed. I came close to passing out from the pain. You told me I couldn't kill you, but I'd like to try and prove you wrong. So let's see, how many times is it gonna take?
Now we've come to the staff of Cloud Tower. Starting off with Griffin, she will be keeping her Nick voice, Grey Delisle. I mean, come on, Grey is one of the queens of the voice acting community, top tier. Everything she does is absolute gold, and her performance as Griffin is no exception. She perfectly captures the character, and I would love to see how she'd handle Griffin in Season 1 when she was tormenting the Winx Club with her Trix.
That's enough. This legendarium is extremely powerful. You have proven your prowess, Selena, but you must put an end to this destruction now!
Next up we have Professor Edeltrude, and for her I decided to go with Suzanne Blakesley, who did voice Griselda in the Nick dub. Other credits to her name are Wanda and Mrs. Turner from The Fairly Odd Parents, and currently the voices of Lady Tremaine, Cruella de Vil, the Evil Queen, and of course, Maleficent.
The truth can be most cruel, even amongst the closest of friends. After all, one never knows the secrets of another's heart.
And for Professor Zarathustra, I went with Catherine Tate, who you will recognize as the voice of Magica Dispel from the 2017 reboot of DuckTales.
Sorry, I was just watching you rally for triumphant comeback. So sad. So futile. Now where was I?
Now we come to the section of other Winx Club characters. Starting off with Daphne, I would have to go with her Nick voice, Elizabeth Gillies. I'm usually not a fan of having big-name celebrities take roles away from hard-working voice actors who are really in a league all their own and are just as talented as big-name celebrities. However, Elizabeth Gillies is the best voice Daphne has ever had. She has an ethereal sound to her voice, but also sounds young. She also manages to nail Daphne's more emotional moments.
Nobody can steal your past, your dreams, or your powers. You just have to look deep inside yourself.
Next up we have Bloom's adopted Earth parents, Mike and Vanessa. For Mike, I decided to go with Rob Paulson, who is a voice acting legend with many credits to his name. Just look up his credits and you will know that he voiced pretty much your entire childhood. Anyway, I think the voice he used for Eric in The Little Mermaid 2 Return to the Sea would be perfect for Mike. He perfectly captures that loving and doting father who is very protective of his daughter. Not to mention, since he's played a lot of comedic characters, he would be able to pull off Mike's more humorous moments, though being a lot more tamed than he normally would when voicing comedic characters.
Oh, Melody, is that you? You look beautiful.
As for Vanessa, just like with Brandon, her race is very ambiguous, and no one is entirely sure what her race is. So I chose to just go with any voice actress that was a woman of color. I ultimately decided to go with Somali Montano, who has a lot of experience in the voice acting world. For Vanessa, I think something similar to her performance as Sharon McGee from The Ghost of Molly McGee. Her performance there showed a mature and caring motherly nature that would be perfect for Vanessa.
Look, Molly, it's not that bad. I'm sure everyone will understand.
As for Nut, this will be quick because he will be keeping his 4Kids voice, Mark Thompson. He absolutely captures what an oafish character he is that can be intimidating but also funny and deep down has a good heart. Perfect for this lovable dope.
I saw Princess Stella on One Avenue.
Next up, we have Myrta, and I would have to go with Jessica DeSico. Jessica has done voices for Winx Club in the Nick dub, with her being the voice of Mile, Lucy, and Selena. She is also best known for being the voice of Melina from The Emperor's New School and Lexi Bunny from Lunatics Unleashed. I think she would be perfect as the voice of Myrta. She has a high-pitched voice, but not so high that she'd be seen as a girly girl. She is capable of voicing less confident characters, but also being convincing as being able to hold her own in a battle, which is perfect for Myrta.
All of Cloud Tower's magic energy is contained in this dragon skeleton, along with all the powers stolen from the other magic schools.
For Lucy, I was tempted to use her 4Kids voice, Rachel Lillis, but then I thought of someone else, Lauren Tom. She has many credits to her name in voice acting. What made me decide to go with her was when I recently watched a clip from Teen Titans with a scene involving Jinx. She would be able to capture Lucy's insecurities and how she is a jerk a lot of the time because of those insecurities.
I'm bad luck. Good was never an option for me. At least with the Brotherhood of Evil, I can be somebody. I'll get respect.
For Diaspro, I would have to go back to her 4Kids voice, Veronica Taylor. She is a voice acting legend and perfectly captures Diaspro's pompous and entitled attitude. She could also manage to help bring some nuance to the character in later seasons.
That's funny. I didn't hear them announce me. Who do you think you are? Don't you dare question me. I will have you fired faster than you can say sorry, Your Highness.
With Mitzi, just like with Diaspro, I have to go back to her 4Kids voice, Lisa Ortiz. Lisa truly is such a versatile actress, since she has voiced a lot of characters in Winx Club and manages to make sure they all sound distinct and different. With Mitzi, she really captures what an insufferable, entitled little brat she is. Her performance really reminds me of Mandy from Totally Spies, which adds to why her performance as Mitzi is perfect.
Hey, Bloom. Isn't it time to send that two-wheel relic to the junk pile? Oh, you poor girl. Of course, I don't mean poor as in not rich. Even though that is what you are.
For King Arendor, since he does have some lines in the first season, I would have to go with Clancy Brown, who is a voice acting legend. You will especially recognize him as the voice of Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants. I think his performance as King Frederick in Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure would be perfect for Arendor. He's a stuffy, uptight jerk, but deep down has a good heart and cares about both his family and his kingdom.
I fear your free spirit and hopeless optimism are a detriment to this mighty kingdom. A queen cannot afford to show such sentimentality.
Next up, we have King Radius and Queen Luna. This is because of how in the episode where the Trix sent a monster that causes nightmares for the girls, in the 4Kids dub, we do get to hear the two of them speaking. I personally love the 4Kids version of that because it adds to Stella's nightmare. So I'm casting voices for Radius and Luna. For Radius, I would have to stick with his Nick voice, Andre Soyuzo. It really suits him as a firm and caring ruler as well as a loving father.
Bloom, my dear, you're most welcome here. Stella has told me so much about you. Please, make yourself at home.
And for Luna, I would have to go back to her 4Kids voice, Rachel Lillis. She really has such an elegance to her voice, but would also be able to show her more maternal warmth.
Stella, dear, I don't know if your father has said anything to you, but
Your
he and
mother
I,
now
your
are-
father and I are getting a divorce.
Lastly, we have Amaryl, a student from Alfea who is a bit of a snob. She will be keeping her 4Kids voice, Rachel Lillis. She portrays the character very well.
No fair. They were the last to get here.
As for other characters in Season 1 that speak but I haven't mentioned, such as the Water Nymphs and the host of the Miss Magics competition, among other minor characters, they will all be keeping their 4Kids voices. Also, with the Miss Magics episode, I would definitely have them use the 4Kids script, because they took a problematic mess of an episode and made it fun and enjoyable with changing the outcome, not having the Trix play a mean trick on Lucy, giving us that bop of a song Mean Girls, and no racist moments involving a black woman's hair. Less 4Kids for changing this episode. Anyway, that's all for now. Next time I will be doing a fan cast for Season 2. So what did you guys think? Do you agree with any of my choices? What are your casting choices? Let me know in the comments, especially your thoughts on my choices. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care!